Well, you guys know that last year when I got up and I spoke to you, I was in the midst of an election. It was Sunday night at 8. I was super stressed out. I had somebody driving me down here. I was operating off of 2 to 3 hours of sleep. And that Tuesday was actually election day. And for those of you that were here, you know, and I'm here again this year, so guess what? I won. And it's interesting to talk about that I won because I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey on city council and really my journey as being an elected official. Unlike you girls are so super smart. You're already here. You're the best of the best in South Carolina. I grew up in Georgia. I was not as involved when I was your age. I didn't serve on student body government. I didn't even know who the student body president was. I wasn't involved when I was in college. I really didn't even know who represented me locally when I graduated from college. But what I did know is that I was concerned with what was happening in my city. I was concerned with what was happening in my neighborhood, and I got an opportunity to be involved in the last presidential election. And I was on the ground, I was working really hard and doing a lot of stuff, but then I noticed that some of the things in my neighborhood wasn't happening the way that I wanted to, and I realized I can't call the president to fix my sidewalks. I can't call the president to work on crime. I can't call the president when my trash isn't being picked up. That's a local issue. And so I had the opportunity to have a great mentor. Her name is Representative Chandra Dillard. She serves in the House of Representatives, and she took me under her wing. I was at an event like this, and she was up talking, and she was talking about all of the great things that she had done. And I was listening to her, and I thought, those are really great things. And so afterwards, I walked up to her, I shook her hand, I said, hi, my name is Jill Littlejohn, and I want to have your job one day. And she looked at me, and she's very calm. I call her the quiet before the storm. And she said, okay, here's my card. Let's get together and let's have lunch. And that's exactly what we did. For 3 years, we got together, we had lunch, we met, we talked. We never, ever talked about me serving as an elected official. We only talked about the issues that were happening in our community. And so she decided to run for state house. And I helped her, I worked on her campaign, it was an awesome time. And then one day, she won, of course. And then she called me one day and she said, so, are you ready? And I'm thinking, am I ready to make phone calls? Am I ready to go door to door? Am I ready to ask somebody for money? And I said, sure, ready for what? And she said, are you ready to run? And I thought, I'm gonna call you right back. And I hung up the phone. And so, I started talking to some friends, and I said, I'm really thinking about running for city council, but I don't really know. So I told one of my best friends, and I should have never, ever told him. He is a social media guru. So he decided to go onto Facebook and start a group, Draft Jill Littlejohn for city council. And so he started this group on Facebook, and within, I think, 48 to 72 hours, they had about 600 people that had signed up for this group, which is amazing because only 700 people showed up for the last race. So it was a clear indication that there were enough people that thought maybe I just had enough to run for office. So you girls know that sometimes that, boys don't tend to think that we can do a better job, and we always do. You do know that, right? So, when I decided to run, the good old boys club, they just decided that, I wasn't the right person to run. And so the person who had served before me and who my mentor had beat decided that he wanted to run again. And I tell you, I went through anything imaginable. You know how you look at the newspaper and you hear some of the tabloids that happens with national politics and all these lies and all these things are being thrown? Well, that kind of stuff was happening to me on a local level. And I thought, it's only a city council seat. Surely these people have something better to do. But they didn't. And so I had to work 12 times harder than anybody else. And I mean, I worked extremely hard. And so I have to give a shout out in the middle. Where's everybody from Greenville County? And now I'm going to give a special shout out. I told her I was going to embarrass her. So there's one person who was with me who worked really, really hard. Sydney Berry, raise your hand. Oh, there you are. Hey. Sydney is one of my interns. And so Sydney was with me as I'm talking about this stuff. And so we would go out in the heat. I mean, it would be hot outside. For some of y'all girls, I don't like to sweat my hair. I just cannot. I don't like to be sweaty. I don't like my hair to be messed up. I just can't do it. But we would go out in the dripping heat, going door to door. And sometimes it would just be me and Sydney. And because sometimes people will sign up and say they're going to volunteer and they don't show up. And so Sydney was a trooper, and she would go out with me, and we would knock on doors, and I would tell people why I was the best candidate, why they should get their support. And so that first time, I won by 25 votes. 25 votes. That's it. And that's huge. And I say that because when we're talking about you guys getting registered to vote and getting other people registered to vote, it really makes a difference. Every single vote counts. So you would think, okay, back in 2009, I won by 25 votes. I started working really hard. Some of my main issues that I work on is youth. I think I'm young. I'm the youngest person on council. I'm not as young as you guys. And my niece is here with me today, and we're driving, and I was listening to John Legend, and she was looking at me like I was crazy. And, I just thought, I am not young anymore. But on council, I'm young, and so I really try to be the voice for the young people. And so I try to put on events that will help to show that Greenville is more youthful and more connected. I really try to make sure that there's always a young voice. When they're talking about issues, when they're talking about economic development, when they're talking about even, building new buildings, I'm always like, well, have you thought about if high school students can be involved with that? Have you thought about if college students can be involved with that? And so on council, they make a lot of fun of me because whenever there's some type of quote-unquote youthful issue, the entire council will stop and say, Jill, they'll just kind of look at me. I'm like, why do I have to know? Okay, well, the answer is, and then I normally tell them. But, I really focus on young people. I focus on housing because I think housing is really important. And I also focus on trying to be a connector, connecting all the different parts that we have in our great city, because I think Greenville is the best state, or the best city in South Carolina. But, that's my personal opinion. But so you would think I've been working really hard that when I got ready to run again, that it would be easy, right? If you work hard, then people normally say, okay, you're doing a good job. No. Some of the same issues came up. And so you guys may be familiar with some of these issues. They didn't say it, but they said it. They actually, this last time they did say it. They said, we need a man on city council. Greenville City Council has 5 women and 2 men. And so their argument, when people would say, why are you running against Jill? Well, we need a man. I said, okay, well, we see how that's working in the state house. But, people really didn't pay much attention to that. Other issues were, she's not from here. Well, she's been here 9 years. I think that pretty much means that she's been here long enough to know what's happening. And people will say, well, what has she not done? They could not give an answer in terms of what I had not done. All they knew is that they wanted to run against me. And so once again, we got out, and here's the thing too that you guys, what I want you to look at when you go back home as your elected officials, be very weary of people who only come around when it's election time. You should see the people that represent you on a normal basis. You should see them in the community. You should see them at the community meetings. You should see them at your high school functions, college functions. You should hear them on the radio. You should see them. You shouldn't only see them when it's election time. And so that's what happened. When I got ready to run again, I'm knocking on doors, but these are the same people that I see every month, the same people that I see every 6 months. These are the same people that get a monthly newsletter from me. Kathy talked about going to the grocery store and having on a dirty t-shirt. Well, for you girls, social media is huge. And so I have a regular Facebook account, I have a Facebook fan page, I have Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Nothing in my life is private. Absolutely nothing. I put a frown on my Facebook page one day, and a constituent called her daughter, who then called me to say she wanted to find out what was wrong with me because there was a sad face on my Facebook page. There is nothing that is private about my life. And I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with being in the spotlight because I feel like it's my duty is to serve others, and serving others means being vulnerable, showing them my strengths as well as showing them my weaknesses to do things that will help move our city forward. That's what I'm all about. So my opponent, God bless his heart. He worked and he tried to outwork me and tried to come up with all kinds of things. But this time, instead of getting 25 votes, I got 75% of the vote. So there were only 25% of the people that voted for him, which is huge. It's a huge deal. That doesn't typically happen. And so as you guys look at how you want to get involved, I always tell people I would love to see all all of you serve as a city council member, a county council, in the state house, in the Senate, run for governor, run for president. I would love to see you all serve as elected officials, but maybe that's not for you. There are so many other ways for you to get involved. You can serve as a campaign manager. You can serve as a financial chair. You can serve as the director of volunteers. You can do so many different things that so many others don't do. So many people choose to sit on the sideline and complain about what happens. You guys have the opportunity to not complain, but to actually make sure that you're a part of the change that you want to see. And so, I could talk forever. Sydney knows that. And my niece knows that. So I won't, but what I will leave you with is that you guys are at a great point in your lives. You are at a point where you get to decide who you want to be, how you'll serve, and how you get others involved. And so Kathy talked about doing a voter registration drive and trying to get people registered to vote when you go back to school. I mean, for those of you that are involved in like Spirit Week and all those types of things, I mean, it's a great opportunity for you to really show some leadership. And not only will it be something that's nice to do, it's something that's needed. Because I tell you what, out of that 75% of the people that came to vote for me, only 20% of them were under 40. 20%. And the population, I have way more than that. But people always say, my opponent would look at me and say, well, you know, we're going to win because young people don't vote. And you know what? I couldn't really argue with them. Because a lot of young people don't vote. And so you guys, this is not, or at least we have, what, 603, that will not be the case for, right?
Right.
All you guys going to vote, right?
Right.
And all you guys going to tell somebody else to vote, right?
Right.
All right. Well, thank you.